If you are a big Bon Jovi fan, you are in luck. If you're a more casual fan, this may be a little too much for you. It's about 5 hours long in total. But let's talk about Thank You, Goodnight, the Bon Jovi Story. Hey guys, Dan here. This is Dan Reviews It. Welcome to my TV review for the new Hulu miniseries, Thank You, Goodnight, the Bon Jovi Story. This is a docuseries in 4 chapters, some of them an hour and a half long, some just a little under an hour. So in total, it's about 5 hours of chronicling the entire life and career of Bon Jovi up through the current day, where the band's future is in question, because John Bon Jovi is having some vocal issues. So we're going to talk about all this here in just a moment, but first let me welcome you into Dan Reviews It. Thank you for finding this video. We do movie and TV reviews here on the channel, and any kind of music documentary always kind of piques my interest. Been a long time music fan, and Slippery When Wet by Bon Jovi, one of my first records that I ever bought back in, it came out in 86, but I bought it in 1987 when I was first getting into music. So we'll talk about all this here. But thank you for finding this video. Please consider subscribing. Hit that like button, comment below. All that stuff, of course, helps the channel out. All right, so yes, let's get into the dirt here of Bon Jovi. So like I mentioned, I mean, this was one of my favorite early bands. When we got MTV, it was in the fall of 1986. It was probably October or November. And You Give Love a Bad Name was the biggest song out at the time. And then right after that was Living on a Prayer. Right after that was Wanted Dead or Alive. So, that was a time you could just not escape Bon Jovi on MTV, on pop radio, on rock radio. And so, I was in love. They were one of my first favorite bands. And then New Jersey came out in 88, another huge success. And I followed them, through their career. I've seen them twice in concert. And they put on a fantastic show for sure. But do we need a 5-hour documentary about Bon Jovi? That's what I'm here to try and figure out with you today. So it takes a chronological look at the band for the most part, but interwoven with all of the history of the band is this present day John Bon Jovi going through all of these issues with his vocal cords. And, so far to discuss, okay, I went to see this doctor and I did this and we tried this and this and that. And he ended up getting surgery. And so they talked to him, post-surgery as well, and, try to figure out where his mind is and are they going to continue to make music and continue to tour. And at the end, it's sort of left with a question mark. Because he doesn't know. He has hope and he's optimistic, and that is wonderful. But at the end of the day, he's like, look, if I can't give this 102%, I think is the number he uses, then, this is a no-go, because we do this, for the fans. And if I can't give them a full show, if I can't give them my best, or if my best isn't good enough kind of thing. So that's kind of interwoven with all of these chapters. But we also have the question, if you know Bon Jovi well, you know that Richie Sambora, the longtime guitarist for 30 plus years, has not been in the band for about 10 years. And there has always been questions about what exactly happened with Richie, because neither party was really talking about it. And they did reunite it at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2018. They talk about that a little bit. And we interview Richie in this, but we don't even really see him in the interview seat until the very, very end of episode 1. And he's like, okay, well, just so I know, are we going to be telling the truth here, or what? Just so I know what responses you're looking for, kind of thing. And so right away you're like, okay, this guy's, being a little bit difficult already, or being a little cheeky or whatever. And then as we delve into more of the latter day era of Bon Jovi, in episodes 3 and 4, then we get to the bottom of, okay, here's maybe what really happened or whatever. So, like I mentioned up top, I think longtime fans of Bon Jovi, huge fans of Bon Jovi, are going to enjoy this. But even for me, it was a little bit long. I'm not sure why this needed to be 5 hours long. But look, they go through the entire career from the very beginning up through, like I said, the present. They focus on each album for a little bit, and obviously, the two or three biggest albums, Slippery When Wet, New Jersey, Keep the Faith. They focused the most time on that because that was when they were in their, huge heyday. But of course, they also have, let's talk about grunge and how that affected Bon Jovi. And let's talk about 9/11 and how that affected the Bon Jovi album that they were working on at the time, being from, Northern Jersey. Let's talk about the album 2020 that was supposed to come out, and then COVID hit, and so the ideas of that album completely changed, and were more socially conscious. And speaking of that, they do spend a little time in the fourth episode about John and the band and their philanthropic efforts. The JBJ Soul Kitchen, for example, in Philly, or I think it's in Philly. It might be in Jersey, but anyway, it's somewhere close to me. Where, you can kind of pay what you can, or if you can't pay, you can wash dishes for 20 minutes and, and that'll pay for your meal kind of thing. A great concept. I wish more places did it. But anyway, that's sort of, as a footnote, you know what I mean? Like, and he mentions even that at this point in time, his interviews are 50-50 music and philanthropy, which, I think is great. I mean, look, talk about a guy who walks the walk. John Bon Jovi is that. And look, if you get nothing else from this docuseries, you will get that John Bon Jovi, while he may be maybe a little full of himself, he can back up everything he says. When he says things like, I want to give the audience a 3-hour show, and well, we certainly have the hits for it, that kind of thing. It's like, he's not wrong. Like, maybe that's a little bit of a full of himself kind of statement, but he's not wrong. He could easily do a 3-hour concert where people know every freaking song, that were played. And so it's definitely interesting to see the juxtaposition, I guess, between like the old Behind the Music episode that was, probably 43 minutes plus commercials, on VH1 back in the late 90s that cataloged the band's, first 15 or 20 years, as opposed to this, which I think it could probably have been trimmed down, but honestly, as a big Bon Jovi fan, not by much. I mean, I think to me, it was very, very interesting to kind of see all of these old, interview clips and all the old footage. And part of the current day stuff is him going through all these cassettes of old demos and songs that never came to light. He plays a portion of a song that he wrote for a Robin Williams movie with Richie Sambora called Cadillac Man, and he plays it, and he's like, this should have been on something, it was never released. So they're looking at the 40th anniversary, which is kind of why this documentary exists now, to sort of, look back. They're in their 39th and a half year, basically, they keep talking about. And, yes, we don't just see interviews with John and Richie. We see interviews with all of the longtime band members. One of the founding members, Alec John Such, has passed. But, Tico Torres and David Bryan and all of that. And the, management team and all of these people. So, look, for Bon Jovi diehards, I think this is going to be a huge, huge hit. For people who are more casual fans, I think you're going to probably find this to be a bit long in the tooth. So for that, I have to sort of leave it somewhere in the middle of, those two grades. Me personally, I would grade this a little bit higher for my own enjoyment. But I think being realistic, a B is, I think, probably more where this stands. But you can check it out now on Hulu or Disney Plus, as they're sort of trying to merge those two streamers. But it's called Thank You, Goodnight, the Bon Jovi Story. So thank you for watching Dan Reviews It. We'll see you next time. Bye.